Welcome to TradeTheNBA.com. This is John. This report is for the 10th of June. Well, the market continues to do exactly what we were looking for because we had the nice buy conversion right here, and then once that green passed over, we were like off to the races here. Cyan now under red, and that straight up move. This is kind of unusual for a turnaround coming off of the lower dip, but what happens is you're getting that oversold. We hit beautifully right on the strong algo support right at the 35.50 range and pivoted right off of it. And so once we cleared the 23%, which we were talking about back there really wasn't anything stopping this. It was just a question of as long as that steel stays above there, that 13.5, you're still in a super bullish because it's effectively coming from underneath. Now it's dipping back below. That could create a little bit of softness, but with that strong break into new zone with the DOC red and that, I would expect that you're going to be sustained in the fact that the cyan is underneath red as well, is clearly within that buy territory. Shakeout, positive 192, so that's exactly what you expect to see. We would expect that to continue to move to the plus side to maintain everything, and all in all, good stuff. No real objections to any of this that's taken place so far. Just goes to show that a lot of the fear for some of the negotiation tactics, the market's going to have to start digesting this a little bit better. I don't know why they couldn't understand the power of the threat of those tariffs. It was never going to happen, but you had to have the other party believe that it was going to in order for it to take place, and that's what hardball negotiations are all about. We can see from the NQ, though, positive extremes as well, so we know that we're coming back to these areas. Likewise with the S&P, all the way back to that 2817. Not yet, and like I said, you don't decide that that's happening until you actually get the signal that run is over. We have to wait for the algos to finish their run. A lot of this bolstered by the euro in a strong move. No particular justification for it, just that things are not as horrible as they have been. That's about the extent of it. And gold continues its rise, so there's some expectation built into what's happening here with commodities and the expectation of either global tensions or well, who knows, just their view of inflation and the portend of what that is. We can take a look at this 50K here from a performance standpoint. You can see we're just slightly off the equity run, but already with the profit this one's going to do is going to put it close to about the six-figure number. I did want to go over some of the details within the strategy that exists here. Make sure everyone's got the similar configurations on the setups. So when you want to do your format, it's important that you have the right configurations as far as all the details, and here's what the readings are for each of the input values as it currently stands. That just makes it clear so that should have a similar configuration, at least even from a symbol standpoint too. Sometimes you got to make sure that you have this one's looking for 7 years back. You're never going to get that much time. In fact, the start of this chart is, oh geez, we'd have to just scroll it all the way back to its beginning origin. And I believe this one's starting in the end of 2015. So that's a few years, which is good. It gives you more than enough time to have the chart develop. That sometimes takes loading historical data in there, so it gives it a pretty broad range. Plus, you also have to make sure you have more than one entry authorized. You can adjust how many entries. Of course, our program is set to do 2 entries, so it was built. And then they combine their value when it comes to, like in this particular case, soft stop, simply because it lost the reading going through, but then it produced the new one just a little bit further over. And it's doing quite well, and it keeps adjusting the stop. Now it's at 73. From a 5K standpoint, it's pretty clean. As this was going, we hit these previous algo levels of 28.45. That became the pivot point, and boom, it just escalated, and we get to the next one where it flattened out right at the 28.70. And then boom, we hit the peak one up at 28.80, and that's where we've kind of fluctuated right there. And then we had the nice little gap up. We actually had the buy signal prior to the close, right going through here. And so the move up to this, not a surprise, it was positive extremes from that. So they've already filled those back in, right back to that 28.80. We would expect during the day that that's going to come right back up to the peak if it doesn't do it even before the open. So that would be the expectation going intraday, at least, to start things out. The whole sell in May, go away, is not looking so great for them right now. That doesn't mean that we aren't going to have a nice move up that isn't going to come back. Of course, that's going to happen, and that's perfectly fine. But there's certainly plenty of volatility left to be utilized, even as trade thins out just a little bit with summer months coming. Though I think that with the amount of activity that Trump exposes the market to, we're going to have an active remainder of the year. So looking forward to that one. And also, you may get a slight difference when looking at some of these like 50K charts and that from mine, because I'm still doing updates to Power Mode 2 and that making adjustments that will improve profit factors and alter some of the signals. So little adjustments, but as I finalize those and make sure that they're good to go, I will be sending them out as well. As always though, trade well. We'll talk again later.